Hello there everybody, welcome back to another Maplestory video. Ignore the horrible cropping on this 800 by 600 window, that's just how Maplestory rolls. But today, assumedly you clicked on this video, you're looking for some guidance, and guidance that I hopefully can provide you. Don't claim to be the best player, honestly, a lot of things in this game are subjective, in sort of the path you want to take, but you're a new player, maybe you're a returning player, coming back for a new age, sixth job, whatever you want to call it. Hopefully this video will at least set you on some sort of pathway towards building an account and building a base, since there is quite a lot of shit going on in this game. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. So, I'm just going to click a random fucking server that I don't have any characters on. So, Scania, for example. Okay, don't ignore these. These are just... Don't look at them. They just have... don't look at them. They're all level 1, but let's just say you start up a new game, right? You have fucking nothing on your account. What is the first thing you should do? You click create a character, right? What character should you make? I don't fucking know. I'm not your mom. I'm not your dad. I'm not your uncle. I'm not your fucking sister, brother, sister, uncle. What you need to do is you need to look deep inside yourself and figure out which one of these classes sort of calls out to you. Which one of these do you want to make your main? Look up some gameplay videos. Hell, just fucking pick one that looks cool, sounds cool, and fucking play it. If it's fun, keep playing it. If it's not, okay, well that's a link skill. What is a link skill? Don't worry, I'll talk about them more in depth in a little bit. But my point is, I think the beginning step to playing this game, especially when you're starting out on a fresh account, is not to worry about all the other pieces like links, mules, shit like that. Find the character you want to main. Figure it out and start it. The earlier you start it, the better. Oh, and then obviously Zero and Chase, which is Beast Tamer. These characters you can't create most of the time. Maybe during the New Age event you're able to create them, but as of me recording this clip, you cannot create them. Don't worry about it. It is what it is. Okay, you picked your main. You figured out what class you want to play. Let's say you pick Nightwalker, you fucking got your Nightwalker. What do you need to do next? Well, there's going to be a couple different events going on, especially if you're looking at this during the New Age launch, which is the video, the patch that I'm making this video around specifically. So New Age, you're going to have a lot of different events, the main one being Hyper Burning. Hyper Burning will give you, excuse me, for every one level up you get, you'll gain an additional 2 levels, all the way up to level 260. Now, that is very high level to hyper burn to. Just straight up. That is fucking amazing. Getting your main up to 260 immediately. Obviously not immediately, but it will be much, much, much faster than if you had done it the old-fashioned way. But getting a character up to 260 very quickly is very important, because there are a lot of, I would say, time-gated / daily content things that you can start doing, even when you're not built out to do other things in this game, such as bosses or whatever. Maplestory is a very sort of time-based game, right? It's a reset-based game. I'm not going to lie to you and sit here and say you can just kind of sit down and grind it out for 350,000 million hours in one day and you're going to be set to go. While you definitely have options to do that, and that will benefit you in the long run, a lot of things in this game you can't kind of brute force. Things that require dailies, such as your arcane symbols, and stuff like that. Which is why I am imploring you, if you're on a brand new account with nothing on it, or even if you're on an account with like very few link skills on it, basically just figure out what you want to main. Pick that character, level it up to a point to where you can start doing your dailies, your time-gated stuff, and start working on your main's power over time stuff while you work on the other stuff. That being said, what are some of these things that you should focus on? Like, let's say, okay, I just got to level 200, I just got to level 210, 220, 230, etc., etc. What do I do now? Very simply put, you are almost assuredly going to figure it out very soon, since once you hit level 200, you unlock the Arcane River, more specifically, Vanishing Journey. This is the first Arcane River place that you go. This is where you get your 5th job quest and everything. This is sort of the place to be. You can kind of see over here from our good friend Rona, not Corona, don't get them twisted, and our good friend Nina and Corona, minus the co, daily quest. This is important. Nina says Urda Spectrum, but realistically, you can cross that out and just read that as weekly quest. You have two different things here. One of these is a weekly, which is Urda Spectrum. One of these is a daily, which is from Rona. Every single area in Arcane River has a set of dailies and a set of weeklies. So that means Vanishing Journey has a weekly and a daily. Choo Choo Island has a weekly and a daily. Lachlan has a weekly and a daily. Arcana has, yes, you guessed it, a weekly and a daily. Morass, yes, has more ass, and it also has a weekly and a daily. Esfera, God bless you, you're so smart. Weekly and a daily. What do these weeklies and dailies give you? Simply put, they give you their respective Arcane River symbol. So if you do your Vanishing Journey dailies and weeklies, what do you get? Well, you get arcane symbols for Vanishing Journey. Makes sense, right? What do these arcane symbols do? Well, I'm glad you asked. You can very clearly see they give you a ton of flat fucking stat, right? Like this arcane symbol for Vanishing Journey gives me 1300 luck on its own. The Choo Choo one gives me 1400, 1300, 1300, 1500, 1500. That is a lot of stat that I have just from doing my weeklies every week, right? There's no way around this. The secondary stat that this gives is something called Arc, also known as Arcane Force. This is a stat that is a bit like Star Force, which you may be a bit familiar with if you're leveled up in Star Force zones or you've paid attention to the What Star Force Is quest. If you didn't, no worries. I'll explain how Arcane Force works pretty simply. You can see here on the map, there is a little star times number above the map name here. So this is a Arcane Force 30 map, for example. Basically, you just need the Arcane Force number to do 100% damage here. So if you're below 30 Arcane Force, you will not hit full damage and you will take additional damage. If you're at 30 Arcane Force exactly, you'll take normal damage and you will deal normal damage. And it can give you a benefit going above the Arcane Force required for each zone, up to 150% damage taken, and it also reduces your damage taken. It says ratio of damage taken 0. It doesn't mean you're invincible. You will still take damage, but you take significantly less damage. And obviously you can see I'm 3,000% over the Arcane Force requirement, but my ratio of damage is only 150%. It caps out at an additional 50% damage, which is very, very strong, especially early on when your character isn't necessarily the best geared in terms of equipment. The additional Arcane Force bonus can get you very far indeed. And this is another reason why I suggest you find out what character you want to main, you focus on them ASAP, you get them up to Arcane River, and start being able to do the Arcane River symbol dailies. Because each zone obviously has differing Arcane Force requirements. Something like a Choo Choo map, this one, good old Dealy Bobber Force 2. This zone has 100 Arcane Force requirement. And Choo Choo is the second zone, right? So we're over double what we were just in. And then obviously if you look at some later maps like Esfera, 560. The absolute latest maps in Esfera, you're 640 Arcane Force. So my point is, Arcane Force is something that you should be focusing on as early as possible because it's not something you can rush. There are ways to get more symbols from events. Like, sometimes they give out... Here, let me show you, if I can show you. There was this previous event before New Age, the 6-star event. But yes, you can see here, Arcane Symbol Selector coupons, 1,200 selectors. That is a lot of selectors, don't get me wrong. But that is not enough to max even one node, or one symbol, excuse me. But that is to say, you will get them eventually from some things. Events do give out symbols, but that doesn't mean you should slack on your main symbols. Your main is obviously your main for a reason. You enjoy playing it. You should do as many things as possible on your main to make it as smooth sailing as possible. I would say this is one of the most important things for new players, new starting players, to start to establish themselves, because you're able, once your main is like, let's just say level 250, for example, you can just park it at 250 and then do dailies on your main and then slowly work on things like Legion and Link skills. And I think this is a good segue into what are Legion and Link skills. So, Legion is a system in this game that provides tons of different bonuses and benefits depending on how many Legion block pieces you have. Think of it as a very boring game of Tetris in a way. You kind of have to fit the shapes into the holes, and the holes give you stat boosts. And these stat boosts are fucking huge. My Legion grid is very messed up. Don't look at my Legion grid. It is a work in progress. But you can see here that I have... I would say this is a decent-ish early to mid-game, like late early game, very early mid-game Legion board. Ideally, for like end game stuff, you're going to want to be like 8k plus Legion, but that is far into the future, and it is a task that will get very overwhelming very quickly if you let it and you focus exclusively on it. So this is just something that I would recommend you focus on as you start to play your main and figure out things that your main is lacking. For example, a lot of the reason why I started doing my Legion grid again was because I came back to the game and I noticed my IED, my ignore defense, was very low and I needed more ignore defense, and the easiest way for me to get more ignore defense was to level up my Legion grid, because there's an ignore defense grid block that gives me stat points into ignore defense account wide per little block that I put in there. And then you also have every single character you level up has an effect on their own block, right? On their own character block. So, like, this is my Hayato's block. Not only does this block give me ignore defense from me putting it in the ignore defense area, but the Hayato itself gives me 5 crit damage flat just for it being in my Legion grid. You can sort of kind of see how insanely fast the bonuses can stack up here, especially since you can have tons of characters in your grid at one time. I'm not even close to being near end game for Legion, and I already have 22. It goes up to something like high 30s at the very high end, so it's very, very powerful. And obviously, each character has their own benefit that they have with their Legion grid. Like Blaster gives 5 ignore defense when you assign it to the grid. Something like a Dual Blade will give you 40 luck. A Pathfinder will give you 40 dex. A Kana will give you boss damage, etc., etc. I'm not going to go super in-depth into Legion leveling strategies, but I'm just trying to give you an idea of what Legion is. Now, for those of you who are a bit intuitive and maybe are like, hey, Brother Chris, what the fuck is a Link skill? I heard you mention that. What the fuck is a Link skill, bro? So if you go over to your beginner tab, and there will be this button called Link Manager. So Link skills are a system separate from Legion, but they kind of work together. Pretty much, no, not pretty much. Literally every single character now in this game has a Link skill. Your current character's Link skill will be over here on the far left inside the Link Manager. So for my Nightwalker, his Link skill is Cygnus' Blessing. It gives you attack power, magic power, abnormal status resistance, and elemental resistance. This is fine. Obviously, the bonuses stack up depending on how many versions of Cygnus' Blessing you get. Because I'm a Cygnus Knight, it's whatever. It's a fine Link skill, but it's nothing crazy. You start looking at some of the more crazy Link skills, something like Elven Blessing from Mercedes. Permanently receive 15% additional experience at level 2. Level 1 Link skills unlock at level 70 on that character. So a level 70 Mercedes would get you level 1 Elven Blessing that you could then attach to another character. Level 2 is level... excuse me. Level 120. And that will let you attach level 2 to any character in your account. Level 3 Link skill unlocks at level 210. You get the idea. Not every link skill has a level 3. Something like Elementalism from Kana only has level 2 maximum. It is what it is. But you can kind of see here, looking up and figuring out which link skills you could benefit from a lot, and focusing on that can net you some pretty big gains. And if you're looking for a suggestion of early link skills to work on, I would suggest making an Aran, because Combo Kill Blessing, it increases the amount of experience you get from combo orbs, which very early on in the game, especially in a character's life, can just straight up give you like a level and a half. Another link skill that I would highly recommend is obviously Elven's Blessing, because it's just additional experience on every single character ever for the rest of your life. And Rune Persistence. This just increases rune duration. The reason why this is so good is because runes essentially double the base experience of a monster for a set period of time, which if you have the thing that increases rune duration, i.e. the Evan Link skill, you're going to be getting like 4 minutes of doubled experience instead of 2 minutes or 1 minute. It is one of the best training link skills in the game, bar none. Those are the 3 link skills that typically get recommended for starting out a new account. Mind you, I would not recommend focusing on these link skills before getting your main set up. I still think getting your main set up is by far the biggest priority, because once you get your main set up, you're able to then do your dailies that you want to do on your main, which there are a good handful of, and they are very beneficial to your main. And then any extra time that you have that you want to spend on Maplestory can be spent making link skills, right? Maybe you decide it's time to level up your Aran, or your Mercedes, or your Evan, or your Phantom, whatever it may be. It's just something to keep in mind. And obviously every additional link skill you make, or Legion character you make, adds to your total Legion, gives you more Legion coins, ranks up your total Legion, unlocks more Legion spots, lets you get more stats from Legion, and it sort of snowballs. It's a very slow burn type of thing. It's not a sprint, it is most certainly a marathon. Okay, Brother Chris, you might be saying. So, I figured out what my main is going to be, and I understand the idea behind doing my dailies. What other dailies are there? How do I make meso? Is there any dailies for meso? And this is where I say yes, my little kittens. We do have some dailies we can do, even as a very new, brand new, fresh account for meso. In terms of ranking these by importance, I would say, number 1, importance for time invested for meso. We're going to be going over here to our quick move tab. You click the dimensional mirror, it opens up this dimensional mirror tab. We scroll down, we hit up Maple Tour. Now, what is Maple Tour? Put simply, Maple Tour is a Monster Park-esque like thing. But instead of experience and potions and stuff, you get meso. Meso is the main draw here. The one caveat to Maple Tour is every time you do it, you can do it twice a day for free. I would not recommend spending Maple points on this to enter it additional times. But you have 2 free runs every day. And you're able to claim your paycheck every week. So you have to wait a week before you're able to access the meso that you do earn from Maple Tour. But you are going to be earning a significant amount of money from Maple Tour relative to your account's progression. You're able to get around 340, 350 million meso every week if you do it twice a day. Other things you can get with Maple Tour drops. You get Maple Tour coins. You can see here, every time you complete Maple Tour 1 time, you get a coin. You can spend the coins here at the travel bag right next to our girl Lulu Spinell. The only thing that I think is super relative from the shop, obviously if you want the cosmetic stuff like the meso chair, the mounts, whatever, that's on you. I've never fucked with the experience box. I think it's a waste of time, truthfully. The spell traces are just a really shitty conversion source into more meso. You can NPC spell traces for 5k each. I don't think it's worth it. Star Force 5-star enhancement scroll, also very not worth it in my opinion. 70 coins is a lot. That's 70 runs because it's 1 coin per run. The thing that I usually buy from here is power elixirs. Reason being, you get 100 power elixirs for 1 coin, which is basically 100 power elixirs for 1 run. Power elixirs are one of the best potions in the game, quite literally the best potion in the game. This is where you can fund your power elixirs for your main very easily. Just something else I thought I should note, as a lot of people, especially newer players, are like, where I get the power elixir. That's where I got my power elixirs to start, mostly. Next up on the list of easy weekly/daily ways to get meso, we have, again, we go up to the dimensional mirror, quick move, dimensional mirror. We have Ursus. Ursus, let me see if I can't. No, I can't. I don't have my 300 mobs killed. But I'll go over to the Ursus area anyways. So Ursus is basically a giant bear. It's a bit like a, I guess, quote-unquote traditional raid boss, but it doesn't really matter. It's a very simple boss. You can do it either solo or with other people. If you do it solo, you only have to do enough to do a certain threshold of damage. I don't know what that threshold of damage is solo. I've always done it in a group. It's super easy to get the maximum amount of meso in a group, even if you're very weak. Basically, there are 2 separate times during the day where it's quote-unquote golden Ursus hour, or opportunity hour, or whatever the fuck, where there's a couple hours each day. I will put them up on the screen here, the times in which you're able to get double rewards from Ursus. So people typically run Ursus during these 2 time slots. All I do is hit up quick start. It says I can't challenge Ursus yet, but this is because I haven't killed 300 monsters today after reset. You do have to hunt 300 monsters in order to enter Ursus. Why? I don't know. It's just how it be. But you're able to enter 3 times a day. If you're able to play during the 2 times hours, even better. If not, it's better to just get it done than not do it. You're able to get about 30 mil a run. You're able to do 3 runs a day, so you're making around 90 mil meso for what is essentially a 2-minute cutscene. Because these runs take about 2 minutes total, all 3 of them. Ursus is another very, very, very lucrative spot to make some meso as a newer account/newer player. And it will definitely help fund you for your later endeavors. Now, the last thing that a lot of people probably know of, but they aren't aware of how good it is exactly, are your daily bosses. Obviously, a lot of people know about your weekly bosses. A lot of people talk about weekly bosses. A lot of people are like, oh, my bossing mule this, my bossing mule that. But the truth of the matter is, my friends, even daily bosses make a good amount of money, especially relative to your spot in the game. You aren't going to be able to do very many of these bosses, but the ones that you can do, you absolutely should do. Something like normal Zac. This will not be hard at any point to anyone's account ever, unless you're like under level 100. And if you're under level 100, just get a couple more levels, my friend, and then you're going to be able to do arcane dailies and shit too. But try to do normal Zac every day. Try to do easy Magnus every day. Normal Hilla. Easy or normal Pap, depending on what you can handle. Normal CRA. Normal CRA might take you a little bit longer, but you need to do normal CRA anyways to unlock the Chaos variant, so I would recommend doing normal CRA if possible. Normal to easy Von Leon are very simple, even for completely fresh accounts. Horntail, you should be able to handle normal or Chaos, depending on how much longer you want to spend in the bosses. Arcarium, run easy for as long as you can. Normal is significantly harder than easy, especially for a completely new account, and Arcarium itself is a very annoying boss. But you get the idea. If you can't do a higher difficulty, do a lower difficulty. If you can't do the lower difficulty and that's the lowest difficulty, well, then try again later when you get a little bit stronger, right? But these bosses aren't super, super difficult, even for fresh accounts. And here, let me just run another couple bosses while I talk. But my point is, these boss crystals add up fast. Especially if you are making Legion mules in the meantime. Maybe you have a little bit of extra time in a day and you're looking for a little bit extra meso and you've already done all your dailies on your main character. Well, maybe you hop on your strongest Legion mule or your most enjoyable experience Legion mule and you do some daily bosses there as well. Because daily bosses, as the name might imply, are daily, and you're able to do them on as many characters as you want. There is a power crystal cell limit per week, but realistically, you are not going to be hitting that weekly limit anytime soon, especially as a new player, so I wouldn't worry about it. I would just do as many daily bosses on as many characters as you feel necessary in order to progress your account at the rate that you would like. But during this little segment where I've just been talking about daily bosses and how they're still good and worth doing, I have 3 power crystals, I sell them, I just made 20 mil meso. Right, it's not going to be as fast for you as it was for me, but my point is, that is 20 mil meso that you didn't have like 5 or 10 minutes ago, right? And you're also able to get boss drops, so things like Royal Black Metal Shoulders, accessory drops from Zakum, Aquatic Letter Eye, stuff like that. These are all very important for your main character as a temporary item. I'm not going to go any further into anything else in this video. This is just meant to be sort of a get your feet wet, get settled into the world of Maplestory with some things that you should be focusing on initially. I'll be making more follow-up videos that goes over more things like what should you start dealing with in terms of potential, what gears should you go for, etc., etc. But for now, I think this is going to be the end of this video, and I appreciate each and every one of you if you guys made it through the whole thing. If you didn't make it through the whole thing, but you still made it here, hopefully you found some useful information to you. If not, I apologize. I try my best. I try to help my boys, and you're all my boys. Thank you guys, as always. I will see you all in the next video. And thank you to my YouTube members, of course, my Tier 2 members, Remix My Life, I'm Nufu, Airzyke, Blitzel, Jacob, Clouded, and all my Tier 1s, It's Biscuits, Ender, Diz. It is your boy, XIism out.